My name is Margo Greenwood. I'm the academic lead for the National Collaborating Centre for Aboriginal Health. It's the collaborating centre that supported the development of this new book, and we were really excited to do that. A lot of my teachers, my elder teachers, have often talked about, know where you've been, Margo. Know where your family has been, so you can learn from that and move forward into the future. So it's not only learning that, but you take the strengths of those teachings, because a lot of the teachings are threaded through time. They're anchored in your family and your kinship relationships, but they're threaded through time. Each generation learns those. Each generation teaches those. And so they really are our strengths. So I look back to see, what was I taught? What are those values that I've been taught that will allow me to live in harmony and balance? So that I'm just not looking forward in the world with nothing, with no, it's like supports behind me or knowledge behind me, but I have a whole wealth of history and knowledge and family behind me that I take with me and bring to the future. Now, I live that reality. So it may not look the way my mother lived it or my grandmother lived it, but the fundamental teachings of that are there, but they will look different in contemporary reality. So I reach my hand back for those teachings and learning and bring them forward, because they're going to help me to negotiate my current realities and live that in a good way. That's what I mean by that. My grandfather, and I think I wrote about it in the chapter, he used to always say to me, because I would ask him, he went to residential schools and, you know, all of the stories that you hear about residential schools he experienced. And I said, how can you to this day be such a devout Catholic? How is that possible when you were over 10 years in residential schools without ever going home? And that's when he said to me, Margo, he said, I take what's good and I leave the rest behind. So he took what was good in those days, took what's good in his own world, culture, and the way he was raised, and knowledge, and he put the two together. And I would be surprised if a lot of people aren't doing that code shifting all the time, because we don't live in the past the way we used to. It looks different. But what are those values that we carry with us? And how do we express these things in these different worlds? And how do we be mindful and self-reflective? And that means that we need to be really solid about who we are, so that we can move back and forth and just flow easily back and forth without losing either the richness of those environments. Yeah, that's what I think about. I remember once one of my teachers, early childhood teachers, told me this story once, and she said there was a little boy, he was about 4.5, maybe 5, and every time his grandma came to the preschool, and they would be having lunch, you know, special events, right? And grandma would come. And every time grandma came, she would feed him. Literally feed him the food. And always the caregivers would like, why is he doing that? You know, and they thought, oh, he's just being lazy, or he's this, or he's that, you know. And then finally, I think she said that one of the caregivers said, how come you do that when your grandma's around? Why do you let her do that? You know how to use a knife and a fork and a spoon, because he was, you know, just about kindergarten age. He said, I do it because it makes my grandma happy. I think that's a powerful, powerful story when I reflect on that, about the absolute thoughtfulness and brilliance of that child. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly why he was doing it. I think we need to allow children to do things, to code switch, to be who they are, and not judge them and give them opportunities, because then we learn from them. I mean, what a beautiful value of love for his grandmother. I mean, just amazing. And as an adult, I would have said, oh, don't do that. And yet it pleased her heart. That's really important, I think.